Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Money Goddess podcast. I'm your host, Jasmine Bridges, and I'm very excited to share this episode with you all about improving your relationship with money. So, there are a lot of ways that you can improve your relationship with money, and I'm going to do this in three plausible steps. While the steps may have different things embedded in them based on your own individual level. I do want to share this about dealing with money. It didn't start with you. I wish that all of our decisions and we came into this world with like a blank slate and we didn't have any patterns or conditioning or societal things playing on our brains, but that would not be true. And if you're struggling with money, it's not because you're a failure or you're just undisciplined. These are things that you might have learned in your environment or you saw something, you might have had traumatic events to take place, and it just creates our patterns in our lives. While it may be easy to blame yourself and just keep going to the day to day, doing the same things, expecting and wanting different results, I'm here to tell you that there is a way to truly improve your money story. I have my own story where I have seen myself go from living off of my mom's 10K yearly salary to now being a multimillionaire. And it's not something that I'm afraid to say or afraid to share. It's actually a really beautiful story. And it's something that I'm very proud of because when I'm talking to others about my history, it just dawns on me that, like, I shouldn't be here. Statistically, this should not be my story now, and I look back and I've shared this with you on the Money Goddess podcast. So, just for those of you who might be new listening in, I'm going to dig into that story a little bit because you may have a similar background to me, or you could have had it worse. You could have had it better. It doesn't matter. We all start somewhere and we go through ups and downs, but you have the power to change whatever it is that is not working for your life and be able to live in a way where you have a beautiful relationship with money. So, I want to talk about my own story. My third great grandmother on my mother's side was a slave in the middle of Mississippi, almost to the middle. And she was also a Native American woman. And it's just interesting to see like how the family dynamics kind of played out. Her daughter winded up having like several different children. And my great grandmother had my grandmother and my other great aunts and uncles. And then my mom, unfortunately, was brought into like a relationship with my mom and my grandfather. They weren't together long term. And my grandmother got um, married to someone else. And unfortunately, my mom and her siblings and even my grandmother experienced a lot of abuse. And through all of those generations, there was a lot of poverty. You can look at the time and the climate for anyone that was a person of color and what they might have struggled and dealt with. I literally hear my mom, tell stories like, "Oh, we had an outhouse," and she just laughs about it. But when you really sit down and think about like, you don't even really have a plumbing system, and my mom even shared a story that she had issues with her legs and weren't able to ride a bike because thought that she might have had polio, and even stories about their food and nutrition and just all of these things. And even with my father, his family also went through poverty, and he had to drop out of school in the eighth grade just to go work and bring in income for his family. He didn't have the experiences that I myself have had. But one thing I loved about both of my parents is that they tried to make the best out of what they had. My father eventually went back to get his GED and his associate's degree when I was 4. And I mean, they just really, like, my mom always worked and just did things in a way that I was very, like, and I'm very proud of the decisions that she made in purchasing a home and taking care of her daughters even when my father passed away. And all of this is just to share with you, like, my story, my background. I don't come from a more polished African American family that's distinguished. I was the first person in my family to graduate with a bachelor's degree, not just my immediate family, but even with my grandmother's grandchildren and, so forth. No one in that generation, or even on my dad's side, has a master's degree, let alone a specialist and working on a doctorate degree. I have a couple, like, extended family members that do now have a doctorate degree, and I'm so, proud of them. But this is just not something that was normalized for us, and those possibilities weren't there. And then you add on the fact that I have businesses. I'm a radio show host. I have the privilege of being able to be a mother and be a wife and have a happy life. And we live really well. And a lot of people, just in general, not even in our family, but a lot of people don't get to experience that. And when I look at my life almost every day, like, I really try to sit and find ways to be grateful and ways to just give thanks to God for what I have, because it should not be possible. It shouldn't have happened for me. Truthfully, statistically, I should have had a baby in high school. I should not have been able to get to college free with a bunch of scholarships. I didn't have anyone at home looking over my shoulder to apply for scholarships. I didn't have help from home when I was in college. Like, that support wasn't there. And the fact that I progressed, and even in college, I had to push myself to get any assistance that I needed academically. Sometimes, I mean, I'm just being honest, like, I've always been a trailblazer. That is just who I am. And when you get into that energy and into that mode, you recognize how powerful you can be to transform your life. Like, I am a literal transformational figure. And that's something that I'm proud of. And I share this again, not to gloat or to make myself feel good, but just to give you the real and the raw of understanding how powerful your story can be, where you are right now, where you've come from, how you have progressed in some way, and then how you plan to move forward in the future, especially around the idea of money. I wish that I could sit here and say that, my relationship with money is perfect, it's over, I don't have to do any maintenance. That would be a lie. I am having to do maintenance. It's not as much as I used to have to do when I was first getting started. It has evolved over the years, and how I work with money is totally different than when I started off. And so throughout this episode, I'm going to actually take you through those levels and those steps that I was able to take. And you'll be able to dig in yourself and understand your own story and how it has evolved, how it will continue to evolve, and what you can do to further yourself more than you ever thought possible. Because I believe that is what God wants for every single one of us.